Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Rezu Learns AFK Journey. This is actually the second to last video in my wishlist series, and today we're going to cover the Graveborns. And we currently have one new Graveborn, so I'm going to talk about her in the end. So Chimera is definitely one interesting thing. Okay, but before we start, as usual, if you haven't watched the first video, which is the introduction one, I would actually recommend you to do so, because I explain a bit about why you're doing this, what you should look out for, what makes a good character, and why my wish list probably looks a bit different than yours. So, but with this start, let's start with the Graveborns. And we don't start with Chimera, but we're going to start with the Graveborn S level heroes. And yeah, as you know the drill, we're going to start with the bad ones first and then dig ourselves up to the better ones. So let's start with Hodgkin. Hodgkin was the main disappointment of the last season. So everybody thought he would be absolutely amazing because his kids read so well, but he failed. And the reason for that is, I don't really know. I think he does not live up to the damage. So he's not doing that much damage as people thought to. He's a bit squishy until he has his invincible part. And on top of that, he attacks the own team, which can be really annoying. Otherwise, if you build him fully, there's actually some cool features, because he spawns two units at the beginning. So it's a zoo type character. And he can spawn units when other units die. So actually you could do quite an high amount of damage with him. And that's also why you see him sometimes in some of the modes, like these, how is this called? So you have these modes where you have you have to continuously, so you basically have one setup of characters and they respawn all the time. I don't remember how they're called, but this is basically where you see him in use. Otherwise, I don't see him at all. Okay, except for Jura's Tire, but you see all the characters. But like in PvP, I haven't seen him. In AFK stages, in the beginning maybe, but later on not. In bossing contents, absolutely not. So I would say he's a character that you can safely ignore, because he doesn't really stand out in anything. So there's other characters that can fill his spot. And so I would ignore him, to be honest. Then we come to Igor. Igor is one of these I hate them characters. Yeah, a real pest. And the reason is that this little asshole he just refuses to die. So what he does is he spawns this little grave thingies, and he jumps from grave to grave. So if he's getting killed, he just jumps to the next grave, and then he's getting killed again and jumps to the next grave. And if you have somebody putting your units below a certain amount of health, then a new tombstone comes up. Yeah, so essentially he can survive and prolong a battle until all eternity. Yeah. And this can be pretty annoying. So in the honor duel, it is so bad that I think they changed the way draws are being calculated just solely because of him, because he's so annoying. Besides that, which is obviously PvP usage, he's not used anywhere else. So in PvP, you can use him to annoy people, but you won't get much out of him, except for maybe surviving something. So he can do quite a lot of damage with his ultimate, but I don't think you can really control that. Hard to say. So I think he can be good, but as he's not in use, I would put him on the you can safely ignore him list, especially as his use is only PvP. So now we come to the more interesting parts, and the next one is Cessia. I think everybody has Cessia built. Yeah, and Cessia was really good in the beginning, and she fails to perform when you progress a bit more. So very good in the start, and then later on she gets worse and worse, and that is basically only because she's so slow. Her kit is good because she can stun enemies. So for example, I used her as a so-called fly trap in the standard arena. So basically she would call her demon, and the demon was trap the first person passing by, so you could basically block at least a couple of persons from going to your team, and that's what I used her for. However, the damage output is like neglectable, I would say. So yeah, so good at the beginning, got worse at the end. You currently only see her sometimes in PvP, rarely I would say, but in none of the other modes except like for end of season and stuff. But yeah, should you completely ignore her? Probably not, because in the beginning she has a lot of use, but later on not. So you don't need her to push her that much. So if you see her failing to perform, then you can probably stop pushing her. Yeah. So some character that you start pulling in the beginning, and later on you can slowly go down with her. I stopped improving her after I reached S+. Yeah, so can you. The next character is Nara. Nara is actually used surprisingly often, and that is, for example, in AFK stages and in PvP. Bossing, absolutely not, because her damage is not that good. She's also very squishy. However, she has a very cool tactical trick, and that is like she can pull characters to her. So repositioning enemies is something that not many characters can do, and you can target specific enemies, which is even better. So you can specifically pick out one unit and pull them to you, which has a lot of value in PvP attacking, not so much in defense, but in attacking it's pretty cool. In AFK stages, this is also used, and if you've seen my wildest video, you probably have seen what I'm going to, because I have currently a stage where this is actually being used. And here you have it. So I can stay on the schematics because you can see, because this I think is a very interesting setup. So here you have a tank in front, and here you have Smokey. Then you have Nara, and you have another tank here. So where's the damage? And the answer is, it's Smokey. So essentially what we do here is we're doing something like a clamshell. So what we try to do is we're going to pull all the heroes in here, and Nara does this job, so she's going to pull heroes in. Then we use the tanks to distract them from Smokey, including taking some damage through, what's his name? Conan? I don't know. Sorry for that. We will come to him in a second. Callan, not Conan. And yeah, so let's see how this works like. So you see Nara in the back. She's going to pull someone in. Okay, she couldn't because probably he was not targetable. So you have to be very careful about non-targetable or or unaffected characters because you cannot pull it. Ah, sadly, this doesn't work out here. Okay, sad. Yeah, so but normally it looks like that, like everybody comes in and then you see Smokey like killing everybody because we're close. But here, like, yeah, I'm so far progressed that this setup is too weak for the enemy. Okay, so that about Nara. So is Nara a must-have character? Nah, I wouldn't say so. Is she useful? She is. Is she more useful than Cecia? Debatable. I would say the distinction between the two comes if you're more into PvP or PvE, but I would see them both more or less on the same level. Okay, next character is Carolina. Carolina is a character that I haven't built for a long time because she's more like a supplement. Yeah, so you basically add her to a team in order for the team to perform better, and that is because she can increase magical damage. And that's why you see her mostly in AFK stages. You sometimes see her also in PvP because of her stunning capabilities. You don't see her in bossing. Also, I haven't seen her in bossing as far as I can remember. Yeah, so that's basically it. So in my last video, I've shown her as a part of a classic iron team so that you boost the magical damage. And that's basically where you use her for. I have pushed her to S+ and not yet to P1, and I want to put her to P1 so I can use her more in PvP because I think she has some value there. And I would put her use a bit above Nara and Cecia because of her use in the Iron team and because of her use in AFK stages. But it's not a large margin. Yeah, so these three characters are more or less in the same range, but I would say Carolina has a bit of an edge there. because of her stunning and buffing capabilities, which none of the others have. And now we're also already entering the must-have zone. So next we have Thorin. Thorin is probably the best PvP tank because he is very hard to kill because he will revive. He can also make another unit less squishy if you place that unit directly behind him, and he has a very strong AoE attack which is based on the damage that he takes. So essentially Thorin can be a pest in PvP. And in the Maulers video I already said that you can have situations when you progress into arena where you have Thorin taking out your entire team. Yeah, so I had this for a long time until I found out that Enchandra can block him pretty well. But Thorin is still used in a lot of places. So if you go for PvP, Thorin is a must-have. And I would say maybe even more than Almus, but that is more or less a matter of taste in some situations, but still a must-have character. For AFK stages, I actually haven't seen him in use that much, but he's there sometimes. For bossing, not at all. So for PvP and PvP and AFK stages, definitely a must-have character. And then we come to the hands down must-have best healer in the game, in my opinion. Yeah, others might be of different opinion. Ludovic. So when he came out, I was like, why do we need that guy? We have others. But now I understand, because Ludovic does a lot of healing when he's maxed out, like really a lot. So much that if you use him in PvP and you have a Vala targeted at his head, he can actually survive this Vala critical, this Vala ultimate. Yeah. So and he's the only unit that I know, the only healer unit that I know that can do that. And I mean, it of course depends on the various factors, so it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. So he heals all the units that are standing on the patch, and the patch is constantly regrouping a lot faster than, for example, Damien. And on top of that, the patch does also damage, and not just some damage, but true damage, so the damage that you want to have in bossing contents. So that makes it really, really valuable. So, and as of that, he's used everywhere. He's used in bossing contents. He's in the top Dream Realm teams. He's used in PvP. He's used in AFK stages, like everywhere you see him. And because of a reason, high healing, high damage output, really cool character. A must pull, in my opinion. Okay, so now let's come to the last character who's not on the list, and this is Chimera. Just came out, you can still pull her. And there was a question like, is she really worth pulling? And I would say yes, if there wouldn't be this upcoming crossover thing, but we don't know how these characters perform yet. So if this wouldn't be here, I would say pull her immediately, because she's a damage queen. Yeah, she's squishy. Let's say that. So she's very squishy, but not for long, because if she starts her ultimate, like, it really goes very well. Okay, so now I want to show you two examples of Chimera in action. So first one, arena. So I haven't done my arena yet. So I'm still on 25. So I have some people tried me, and I have a team with her on it. So here you see it, yeah? So this is a team where I'm challenged, and you see Chimera being the damage queen. Okay, let's see how this goes. So I'm doing it a bit slower. So you see I have Siren, I have Almus, and I have Tarsi, and then you have her in the back. And now look at that. She does her ultimate like 7 seconds in. Boom! First one down. Boom! Thing down. So circling. Where do I attack next? Because she can. Oh, now she found something. Okay, but she was dead before their eyes reached her. So they're coming back, and now you see when they come back, boom, boom, boom. Back, and we're done. Yeah, so this didn't take long, and if you watch that closely, you see that basically the team was dead at the moment that her ultimate hit. If she's dead before that, you have a problem. But that is the reason why I put her on the wildest field, because the wildest field protects her very well. So 9 seconds if no characters dies, and that is pretty cool. So now for bossing contents, let's have a look at the Dream Realm. I think today she's not in the final team. Let me check. 107 billion. No, this is not one. Okay, this is the one where I did 107 billion. Okay, so here you see quite decent, but I mean, we talked about Ludovic damage, yeah, so he does more damage than Chimera in this case. And yeah, so here you see that thing. I mean, I do it quickly because it's like again ultimate spamming. So you go and you see her going on, and boom, there she goes, and from that point on you're just seeing green balls all over the place. Jing, jing, jing. So that is like a constant flow of ice, and that is basically how bosses look like. So in the last weeks, she has made her way into the highest performing teams, not the top performing teams, but the highest performing teams. So it makes a lot of sense to pull her. Again, at the moment, I would still wait for the crossover characters to come out before you really invest into her, because you don't know how well they perform, and they apparently cannot be pulled after that. She can. And we have 14 days left, so it's all fine. Okay, so let's come to the wish list, or back to the wish list for the S-level characters. So who are the ones to pull? I would put definitely Ludovic on number 1. Then comes Chimera. Then comes Thorin. And then it gets thin, but I would go for Carolina next. And then you can choose between Nara and Cessia, and the rest can be ignored. That would be my order for the Graveborn S-level. Okay, and now we have to go for the A levels. So, and the A level is interesting because for a long time we didn't have a lot of options here. And that is also why I have characters built that I didn't really want to build, because, I mean, for some reason, I had to put something in here, and for some reason I only pulled Graveborns. Okay, help me progressing for Paragon 2, but yeah. Okay, let's start with the bad characters. And I'm going to start with Salazar. And I would say you can safely ignore him because he's actually of no use. So he has some stunning capabilities and doesn't sound so bad on paper, but nobody uses him. I don't think that anybody even builds him. And the only reason why I have a non-mythic blast is because like I pulled him and there was no other option. So yeah, don't. So ignore him. Like no use. Not even close. Absolutely no use. So the next one, and here it becomes already tricky who I'm going to pick next, but I'm going to pick Viperion. Viperion is actually not that bad in terms of damage, but it takes a long time for him to do that damage, and he requires health to do that damage. So if you want to play Viperion, you better have a healer next to him. That is already tricky. And then it takes some time until he does damage, which makes him also not a good fit in PvP. Or it's hard to get him into PvP. In AFK stages, his damage is also not enough, I would say. So it's really hard to get him in. So I would say he's also on the ignore list, actually. I mean, I have built him up until P1 because I needed another P1 character, I think. But, you know, actually, I don't use him. Yeah, so this is one of the P1 characters which I say, okay, if I can trade him for anything, anybody else, I would do so. Because, yeah, I would put him on the ignore list. Actually, maybe somebody can leave a note in the comments where he's actually used, but I don't see any use for him. Next is, I would say Nero. Nero actually has a use. And this is the same as with Brian from the Wildest faction. So you use him to protect Iron from Lily May. And he's a bit better suited than Brian because at the moment he does an attack buff to the unit standing behind him because of the factional charms, of the seasonal charms. If that goes away, he's, I think, in par with Brian. On paper he does healing, in reality he does not. And he has the ability to sort of kind of revive characters, but yeah, that doesn't really work for me. So the only thing I use him for is essentially for protection, and that's it. Yeah, so, and that is why I would put him on yeah, it's quite nice to have him, but I wouldn't really push him first. It's like on the lower end of the list. Okay, so who's next? And yeah, I'm a bit torn. So maybe we're gonna do Vala first. Oh, Valka, sorry, Valka. Valka. So what about Valka? So Valka is actually not really bad. So I would say it's a nice to pull character. I traded her in for somebody else. I think it was it's A level. So who did I trade in for? Good question. I traded her in for somebody. I don't remember who. So that's why she's now so low at the moment. And yeah, so she does do true damage, but she failed in Dream Realm. So nobody made her work in Dream Realm yet. However, as she does true damage, she has the option to become a valuable Dream Realm character in a future season. So that's why I would say she is in the medium range, and you should probably pull her slowly. At the moment, she has some use in AFK stages. I have seen her once in PvP, but not that often, and in bossing content currently also not. But maybe she comes back. So yeah, medium character. Not much to say about her because I haven't used her that much. She has some shielding. I think she also has some life modifying thing. Yeah, so I cannot tell much about her, but true damage might be a potential candidate for Dream Realm next season. Next character is Sylvina. Sylvina is a PvP only character, I would say, because you don't see her in bossing content. You also rarely, up until no time at all, see her at the in the AFK stages. So basically PvP only, I would say. And she's like a glass cannon and like a unit deleter style unit. So because she will jump to an enemy, just stash on him and do an ultimate, and the ultimate will hopefully kill that enemy. If you don't have her on S+, she is mostly too squishy to be used because she needs this shielding until your ultimate hits. And this is extremely important because she's easily killed. And that's why I also said she's a glass cannon. So essentially, you target her on a unit, she goes kills that unit, and most of the time she's dead afterwards. Yeah, so like a bullet that you shoot to one position. If she survives, she will just continue slashing and hacking through the team, but this rarely happens. So if you go in PvP, she's a good character. She's also good to combine with Vala, because like if you have Vala and Sylvina targeted the same thing, unless it's Ludovic, I would say it's a guaranteed kill. So yeah, something to pull. Should you pull Valka or Sylvina first? I'm torn. Probably Valka. Yeah, because Valka has the potential to be used in more situations, and Sylvina is PvP only, so yeah, probably same slot, maybe Valka a bit earlier. Okay, now we come to the actual interesting characters. And the next one is Callan. Callan is a tank who has a bit of a niche use, because Callan doesn't move at the beginning of the battle and for quite some time. So in contrast to other tanks, he will not charge toward the enemy, but instead consume damage. And what is this for? So for example, what you can use it for is when you have an iron team against you and you cannot counter iron because, for example, there is Nero in front of iron, then you can use Callan to protect your team, because he will do this aura that can eat up damage. He will not eat 100% of the damage, so a bit of damage will still come through, but it does a decent amount of protection. And when he wakes up, he will go to the enemy, and also if some unit goes beyond a certain percentage, he will scream and do a bit of damage. As of that, he's basically used in AFK stages, like you have seen before, and in PvP. But he's not the most versatile tank. Still, I think, valuable character. So, because there are some options. It's a bit similar to Sylvina though, because, yeah, one trick pony, but it, in my opinion, makes sense to pull him, and you will probably find more situations outside of bossing content where you can use him. And the last character is Bonnie. And Bonnie now is a must-have please pull character, because she's one of the main damage dealers in PvP and in AFK stages. Bossing, not so much, because she shines most when there's many characters on the map. She will debuff the backmost unit, and this debuff will stay when she's dead, so she has a use after death, which is pretty nice. And up until this point, she does a lot of damage. So yeah, so you see here in PvP, like almost everywhere. Yeah, so almost everybody has her, and she is really a pest. So in standard arena, you will see her killing off units. And maybe I can show something, because I think I haven't done my daily arenas yet. No, I have. But maybe I have a replay where I actually have one. Oh no, I did. Okay, I've got being attacked. Okay, this one. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, oh, here you see her. This is one that I won against a character, player who is actually, should be a lot better. Oh yeah, so here, that is Paragon. Is this Paragon 2 or 3? Oh, Paragon, no, this is Paragon 2. So Paragon 2, Paragon 3, so 2 times Paragon 3. I have only Paragon 1 characters. And now let's see how this works. How can I actually work against a much higher Paragon player? And this is like a combination I have already told you about, and this is like the Bonnie Satrana combination. So and there's been videos about that. So now, okay, so let's see. So now you can see that here Bonnie's in the back, and if you look out here, you see here this little buff. This is the debuff that you have. And because we have Satrana, everybody has this flame aura. So this buff will spread as soon as there's, I think, 3 different kinds of magic damage on the target, or the target dies. Okay, so let's see how this looks like. Boom, here we go. You see? It's spread everywhere. Yeah, so now it starts ticking. And at the same time, she's here, and she will just jump back and forth between that, and is protected by my Damien. So she will get that. The other team is also that. But if you look at this, there is, where's the debuff of the other team? I don't see it actually on my units. No, I think that's because of Damien, because Damien is an effective counter to Bonnie. Let's continue. So, okay, now see, okay, Lily May is coming in, but overall it looks quite decent. So now the Bonnie is dead. So I'm doing Forester stuff. So, okay, so now next one ticks off. Beam. Now she's dead. Satrana goes now. Now Satrana is basically invincible while she does this little spinning stuff. So now Bonnie comes again. Shoot. Dim bam bam. Off you go. And now Tazi finishes off the rest. Okay, Tazi comes, does the dream stuff, and we're done. Yeah? So and you did see that, or you might have seen that Bonnie is basically the main damage dealer in this situation. Okay, so that is why Bonnie is a must-have character. In AFK stages, this looks similar because she's often the highest damage dealer, and that's why you should pull her. Okay, let's come to the final scoring. So Bonnie, definitely pull. Next character, now it's getting tricky. So you can basically choose between Callan, Sylvina, and Valka. If you're going more into the direction of PvP, I would go with Callan first, because you also have some use in AFK stages and Sylvina does not. If you're going more into the PvE direction, I would probably go for Valka next, and then for Sylvina or Callan. And then you can basically decide where you want to go, because the other characters are equally, of use or not. Nero maybe being the exception, because he has some use in countering Lily May. So this brings it up to Bonnie. Then if you're PvE, I would go for Valka. Otherwise, I would go for Callan or Sylvina next. Choose one, and then Nero. And that's basically it. So all in all, the A level has gotten a bit better for Graveborns, but it's still not great. So because the only really good unit is Bonnie, and the rest is like, yeah, okay. Okay, so that's what we had for the Graveborn section. And now we're done with our wish list for the main factions. And the only one left is the Celestial Hypogene faction, or the 2 factions actually, which we're going to do another video of, which is probably shorter. But for now, we're done with that. Thank you again for listening, and see you next time.